Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021. Today I'm going to recap last night's Monday Night Football game. We'll look ahead to tonight's college football games as well as recapping last night's college basketball, NBA, and NHL games. We'll look ahead to tonight's games. The MLS playoffs. There are games tonight. I want to preview and pick them. News and notes. We'll do hit or miss Mlb Draft edition of 2020. We'll recap the Dancing with the Stars finale, and I'll do my best bet of the day. Monday Night Football, it was about as predictable can get as the Buccaneers defeat the Giants by a score of 30-10. As the Bucs improved to 7-3, the Giants dropped to 3-7. Tom Brady, 30 of 46, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Daniel Jones, 23 of 38, 167 yards, a touchdown and 2 picks. So, Bucs up next are at the Colts in what is a huge game. All of a sudden, a great game. And the Giants host the Eagles on Sunday at MetLife Stadium. So, now we will talk college football. We have a few games tonight in action. First up of the games is between Buffalo and Kent State on ESPN+. My projection is Kent State by 8, total 63-1. Meanwhile, it is... Let's see here. Wait a minute. Oh, I found it. It's... Oh, my God. I put in Kent State instead of Ball State. Is that what I really did? Oh, my goodness. What a mistake by me. Let's see if I put in just the wrong team. Yeah, that's my bad, guys. I have to redo the projection then. Alrighty. That was my mistake. On Ball State, I project 5.5 as a favorite, total 57-35. Meanwhile, Ball State 6.5, total 59.5. Slight edge to the under here is going to be the pick for the show. Not a slight under, but it's like a slightish under. And then the slight edge from an ATS standpoint belongs to Buffalo. So the pick under 59.5 between Buffalo and Ball State. Then Western Michigan, Northern Illinois on ESPNU. My projection is Northern Illinois by 8, total 63-75. Meanwhile, it is Western Michigan by 3.5, total 60.5. Why is Northern Illinois not getting the respect they deserve? Northern Illinois is good this year. I mean, Western Michigan's good too, but Northern Illinois has been great in their home. So, I have a big edge on Northern Illinois, and I would take them plus 140 to win straight up, and I like the over in this game as well. Okay, now we'll move on to college basketball, as I'll quickly go over the results from last night. Not going to do records and such, and I'll look ahead to tonight's games as I will do all the picks and whatnot. So, Little Rock over Northern Illinois, 67-60. Rice over Evansville, 109-104 in triple overtime. Toledo over Charlotte, 98-86. Kent State over James Madison, 74-69. Duquesne over Bradley, 78-70. BU over Sam Houston, 72-59. Oakland over Vermont, 63-61. Wisconsin over Texas A&M, 69-58. George Washington over Wright State, 74-63. Tulane over Drexel, 90-87 in overtime. Nichols over Cal Poly, 75-72 in overtime. Yale Monroe over Northwestern State, 96-66. Colorado over Brown, 54-52. Number 12, Houston over Butler, 70-52. Fordham over Akron, 63-43. Utah Valley over Idaho, 83-45. East Tennessee State over Murray State, 66-58. Creighton over Southern Illinois, 66-64. His best bet was a loser. Ohio State upsets number 21 Seton Hall, 79-76. Loyola Marymount over SMU, 76-70. Cincinnati upsets number 14 Illinois, 71-51. Penn State over Cornell, 85-74. Stony Brook over Cincinnati, or Sacred Heart, my bad, 75-72. Number 10, Kentucky over Albany, 86-61. Eastern Kentucky over Eastern Illinois, 82-43. Western Illinois over Northern Kentucky, 69-67. Troy over FAU, set 83-78 in overtime. Lafayette upsets Rutgers, 53-51. South Dakota State kills Nevada, 102-75. Richmond over Hofstra, 81-68. Cleveland State over Coppin State, 65-62. Georgia Tech over Charleston Southern, 85-70. Virginia over Georgia, 65-55. Siena over Harvard, 72-69. Canisius over Fredonia, 106-40. Ohio over Mount St. Mary's, 73-59. McNeese over Carver, 98-54. Delaware over App State, 75-68. Number 2, UCLA over Bellarmine, 75-62. South Alabama over William Carey, 96-53. Alabama State over Tuskegee, 91-65. Southeast Louisiana over Ecclesia, 121-79. Colorado State over Northeastern, 71-61. Southeast Missouri State over Missouri Baptist, 71-63. Oklahoma State over Charleston, 96-66. LSU over Belmont, 83-53. Texas Rio Grande over Northern Arizona, 82-80. Missouri State over Long Beach State, 92-66. North Dakota State over Tarleton, 54-53. Number 23, Florida over Cal, 80-60. Florida State over Missouri, 81-58. Iowa over Western Michigan, 109-61. Number 5, Duke over the Citadel, 107-81. Number 13, Arkansas over Kansas State, 72-64. Washington State over Winthrop, 92-86. UC Riverside over Utah, 52-40. Kansas City over Idaho State, 74-58. New Mexico over West New Mexico, 88-63. Wyoming over Grand Canyon, 68-61. San Francisco over Morgan State, 83-67. Oregon over Chaminade, 73-49. Valpo over Jacksonville State, 78-70. Washington over George Mason, 77-74. Providence over Northwestern, 77-72. Cal State Bakersfield over Colorado College, 99-54. Seattle over Arkansas Pine Bluff, 77-56. Pacific over Chicago State, 74-58. Santa Clara over TCU, 85-66. Number 1, Gonzaga over Central Michigan, 107-54. Number 24, USC over Dixie State, 98-71. St. Mary's over Notre Dame, 62-59. And Fresno State over Pepperdine, 70-63. Okay, now we look ahead to tonight's games. Or I should say today. So in about an hour from now, you have Evansville and Vermont. My projection from this game is Vermont 11.5. I did not do totals today. I apologize. Just never had the time. This game's being played from Hertz Arena, and the line is 9.5. 125.5 is the total. I'm going to lay the points with Vermont. Confident College, Chattanooga, we can skip. 12 o'clock, Charlotte Drexel from Baja Mar Convention Center. I project as a pick'em. And I don't see a line on FanDuel. I'm going to check DraftKings and see if they have a line here. And they do. It's Charlotte 1.5, total 132. So too close. I'll go to the total, and I'll take the over. Next up, James Madison, Wright State. From Mo Kent Family Fieldhouse, my projection is James Madison by 2, and it is James Madison by 1.5, total 150.5. That's a high total. Oh, God, that's very high. But Wright State's a high-scoring team. James Madison's sort of a low-scoring team. I think that the Duke's defense will show up. Don't give me the under in that game. Yale Southern Utah, Suncoast Credit Sun Arena is where it's being played. My projection is Yale by 3 5/8. And it is Yale by 1. I get the lay 1 with Yale at even money. That's wonderful. Middle Tennessee and Rider at 12:30 from Hard Rock Hotel, Riviera Maya in Cancun. My projection is Rider by 7/8. And this line is let's see here. Rider and middle. Believe it or not, I don't see a line here. Oh, I found it. Rider 1.5, total 140.5. So, we'll go with the total and we'll take the over. 1:30 Akron and App State from Hertz Arena. My projection is App State by 3 7/8. And it is Akron 1.5. So I'm going to take App State plus 1.5 and plus 112 to win on the money line. Next up, Penn Towson. My projection is Penn by 1/8. And that game's at 2:00, and it's Towson 1.5. I would take the over 134.5. I would take Penn to win straight up. I would probably just take Penn money line, but the play for the podcast would be over 134.5, if that makes sense. Texas A&M Butler from Mlb Arena at 2:30 on ESPN2. My projection is Butler by 0.5, and it is Texas A&M by 1.5, total 124.5. Butler plus 1.5, plus 106, straight up. Toledo Tulane from Baja Mar. My projection is Toledo by 1.25, and it is. I don't see that line here. Toledo Tulane. See if DraftKings has. Toledo 2.5, total 141.5. Let's go with the over in that game. Next up, Murray State, Long Beach State from Moquett. My projection is Murray by 12 3/4, and it's 10.5. I'm going to lay it with Murray State. Bowling Green, Milwaukee from Suncoast Credit Sun Arena. My projection, Milwaukee 3.5. And it is 2.5. Total is 147.5. I'll take the over. Bucknell Mercer from Hard Rock Hotel at 3:00. My projection is Mercer by 5, and it is Mercer by 6.5. Total is 148.5. I'll take the over. Quinnipiac, New Hampshire, 4:00. My projection is New Hampshire 13.5, and it's 4.5. I'm laying the 4.5 with New Hampshire. Wow. 5:00 on ESPN, Wisconsin and number 12 Houston. It's the Maui Invitational from the Michelob Ultra Arena. My projection is Houston by 7.25. And it is 7.5. Total is 123.5. That is super low. I'll take the over. Georgia Northwestern from the Prudential Center on ESPN2. My projection is Northwestern by 5.5. And I don't see that line on FanDuel. Let's check DraftKings. If Georgia's favored again, I swear to God, they had no business being favored against Virginia yesterday, and it proved otherwise. I don't know why they were, or if I read that line wrong or what. But Northwestern's favored by 9. Now I actually like Georgia getting the points. That's crazy. Next up is Rice Oakland from Hertz Arena. My projection is Rice by 3.25. And it is Oakland 2.5, total 142. I'm taking Rice plus 2.5 and plus 115 on the money line. Liberty and Bethune-Cookman. My projection is Liberty by 20 7/8. And that game is at, that's a 5:00 game too, okay. It's Liberty 17.5, totals 130.5. I'll take Liberty minus the points. Next up is Valpo, Coastal Carolina, 5:30 from Baja Mar. My projection is Coastal 4.5, and it is Valpo 3.5, totals 130.5. I'm taking Coastal Carolina and the points and plus 152 straight up. Why is Valpo favored? Next up is Kent State, George Washington From Mo Kent, my projection is Kent State by 9.5. And it is 5.5. Totals 135.5. I'm going to lay it with Kent. Stephen F. Austin against Buffalo at 6 o'clock on CBS Sports Network from Hard Rock in Cancun. My projection is Buffalo by 1.5. Buffalo by 1 3/4 against Stephen F. Austin. And my projection is Buffalo's favored by 5.5. Total is 156 according to DraftKings. I'm going to take Stephen F. Austin plus the points. I don't know if they'll win the game outright, but they'll be close. 7 o'clock, ESPN News. Number 14, Illinois against Kansas State from the T-Mobile Center. My projection is Illinois by 11. And it is Illinois 10.5. Totals 134.5. I'll take the over. Defiance, Miami of Ohio. We can skip. George Mason and Nevada from the Sanford Pentagon. My projection is Mason by 1.5. And it is Nevada 3.5, total 142.5. Wrong team's favorite. Give me George Mason plus the 3.5 and plus 152 on the money line. Region Norfolk, we can skip. Hartford, Merrimack. My projection for this game is Hartford by 1. And it's Merrimack 4.5, total 122.5. I'm taking Hartford plus the 4.5 and plus 188 the win on the money line. Warren Wilson, NC Central, we can skip. Lipscomb, Tennessee Tech. My projection is Lipscomb by 4.5. And it is 2.5. Total 141.5. I'm going to lay to 2.5 with Lipscomb. Spalding, IPOI, we can skip. South Carolina Upstate and SC State. My projection is SC Upstate by 6.25. And it is, let's see here. Upstate 2.5. I'm going to lay to 2.5 with Upstate. American and UMBC. My projection is UMBC by 5 7/8. And let's see here. It is 5.5, total 139.5. I'll take the over. Louisiana and Marshall. My projection is Marshall 3.5. It's 5.5, totals 155.5. I'll take Louisiana and the points. Central Connecticut and Maine. Projection is Maine by 16 3/8. And this line is Maine by 5.5. I'm going to lay to 5.5 with Maine. Jackson State, Indiana. My projection is Indiana by 21. That game's on the Big Ten Network. And Indiana is giving 22.5. Totals 128.5. I'll take the over. St. Francis, Brooklyn, and St. John's on Fox Sports 2. My projection is St. John's by 31. And it is 26.5. I'm going to lay to 26.5 with St. John's. Wofford, South Carolina. My projection is South Carolina by 6 3/8. And South Carolina is favored by 4.5. So it's not enough to lay. It totals 141.5. I'll take the over. Columbia, Lehigh. My projection for this game is Columbia by 2.5. And it's Lehigh 7.5. Oh my God. Give me Columbia getting to 7.5 and 3-1 straight up. Oh my God. Lehigh's terrible. I don't know why they're favored by that much. That is awful. Oh my God. UNC Asheville, North Carolina. My projection for this game is UNC by 14 3/8. And UNC is giving 22.5, totals 154.5. I'm going to take Asheville and the points to cover. Rhode Island and Florida Gulf Coast. My projection is Rhode Island by 1 5/8. And this line is Rhode Island by 5.5. Totals 140.5. Give me Florida Gulf Coast and the points. LIU and St. Peter's. My projection for this game is St. Peter's by 13.25. Meanwhile, I have to go on the insider because St. Peter's is in Jersey. It is St. Peter's by 9, total of 136.5. I'm going to lay the 9 with St. Peter's. Central Michigan and Bellarmine from T-Mobile Arena. My projection is Bellarmine by 5 7/8. Meanwhile, it is, let's see here. Bellarmine by 7.5, total 146.5. Not enough to bet Central Michigan, but I like the over. Virginia Providence at 7:30 from Prudential Center. My projection is Virginia by 3. Meanwhile, it is, because this game's being played at Prudential is why it's not on FanDuel. It's dumb. Let's see if DraftKings has it. Oh, they just took it down. I think it was Virginia 2.5. Let's see. Yeah, FanDuel has it. Wait, no, Providence by 1.5, total 121.5. Oh my God, give me Virginia in the points. I like Virginia to win the game outright as well. So Virginia is a pick here for me. Fordham, Delaware from Hertz Arena. My projection is Delaware by 14.125. Meanwhile, it is Delaware 6.5, total 133.5. I'll lay the 6.5 with Delaware. 8 o'clock, Ecclesia Southern you can skip. Next up, the big one, a dandy. Oregon St. Mary's from Michelob Ultra Arena, 8 o'clock on ESPN. It's going to be a great game. My projection is Oregon by 5/8. And it is Oregon 2.5, total 132.5. Is it enough to bet on St. Mary's is the question. No. So I'll go to the total and I'll take 132.5 is low. But St. Mary's is a good defensive team. So I'm actually going to take the under in this game. Under 132.5. East Tennessee State and Missouri State from Mo Kent. My projection is East Tennessee State by 1. And East Tennessee State is getting 6.5. Totals 139.5. Oh my God. Give me East Tennessee State plus the 6.5 and plus 250 straight up. Presentation, College South Dakota, Rogers State, Oral Roberts. We can skip both of those. Cal State Fullerton at Texas Rio Grande. Against Texas Rio Grande from the J. Lawrence Walkup Sky Dome. My projection is Fullerton by 1 7/8. And it's Fullerton by 9.5, totals 144.5. I'm taking Rio Grande in the points. No, they won't win. I just think they'll cover. Kennesaw State and Wake Forest on the ACC Network. My projection is Wake by 14 7/8. Meanwhile, 16.5, totals 140.5. No, it's not enough to bet Kennesaw, but I'll take the over. Omaha, Texas Tech. My projection is Tech by 20.25. Meanwhile, it's 30.5, totals 139.5. I'm taking Omaha plus the 30.5. Illinois State and St. Louis from Hard Rock. 8:30 on CBS Sports Network. My projection is St. Louis by 21 5/8. Meanwhile, it's 11. I'm going to lay to 11 with St. Louis. 9 o'clock, Oakwood, North Alabama. We can skip. Big Ten Network, Tennessee State and Nebraska. My projection is Nebraska by 8 5/8. Meanwhile, it's 16.5, totals 145.5. I'm taking Tennessee State in the points. Cincinnati and Arkansas from the T-Mobile Center. My projection, and this game's on ESPN2 at 9:30. Projection is Arkansas by 2 3/8. Meanwhile, it's Arkansas 5.5 total, 141.5. I'll take Cincinnati and the points. South Dakota State and Washington from the Sanford Pentagon. My projection for this game is South Dakota State by 5, and it's 5.5 totals, 157.5. I'll take the under. That's very high. The game of the year in college basketball so far. Get ready, folks. This is going to be a special game from T-Mobile Arena. It is the Good Sam Empire Classic. Number 1 Gonzaga, number 2 UCLA from Vegas. My projection is Gonzaga by 3/4, and the line is Gonzaga by 7, total of 155. Give me UCLA and the points. I think there's a chance UCLA wins the game outright. I'm not going to go for it because I think Johnny Juzang could be the best player on the court tonight. I really do. This will be a great game. It's a no-brainer, guaranteed to be called by Dan Schulman and Jay Billis. This is the game of the year. I think we could see this matchup again in the Final Four. I really do. These are, I think, the two best teams in college basketball. I picked one of them to win the title in UCLA before the season. So get ready. I love UCLA getting the 7 against Gonzaga. I just think it's going to be a great game. But I'm going to say that Gonzaga actually wins, but it's a close game. Pacific Lutheran in Seattle, we can skip. Pac-12 Network, NCAA and Stanford. My projection is Stanford by 10.5. Meanwhile, Stanford is giving 15.5 totals, 131.5. I'll take NCAA and the points. Northern Colorado and San Jose State. My projection is Northern Colorado by 11 3/4. Meanwhile, it's 4.5. Total is 136.5. I'll lay with Northern Colorado. Portland and Portland State. I project State by 5. Meanwhile, State by 6.5. Totals 146.5. I'll take the over. Notre Dame and Chaminade they actually have a line for this game. And the consensus is, actually, no, they don't have the consensus right here is Notre Dame 21.5, totals 136.5. I didn't do a projection because I can't really project Chaminade. But if I had to make a pick for this game, I would take the under 136.5. I just don't think Chaminade can score. And I think Notre Dame is a good defensive team, as we saw last night. So I'm going to go with the under in Chaminade, Notre Dame. And then last but not least, at 10:30, UC Davis and Sacramento State. My projection for this game is UC Davis by 2 3/4. And maybe DraftKings has it. UC Davis 8.5, total 136.5. I'm taking Sacramento State and the points. All right, so there you have it for college basketball for today. Now I'll move on to the NBA. We will recap last night's games, and we will look ahead to the games for tonight. Nets over the Cavs, 117-112. Brooklyn is 13-5. Cleveland 9-9. Hornets over the Wizards, 109-103. Charlotte 11-8. Washington 11-6. Hawks over the Thunder, 113-101. Hawks 9-9. They're starting to turn it around. OKC 6-11. Celtics over the Rockets, 108-90. Celtics 10-8. Houston 1-16. Pacers over Bulls, 109-77. Indy 8-11. Chicago 12-6. What a great win for the Pacers. Bucks over the Magic, 123-92. The Bucks 10-8. Orlando 4-14. Timberwolves over the Pelicans, 110-96. Minnesota 8-9. New Orleans 3-16. Suns over the Spurs, 115-111. The Suns 14-3. The Spurs 4-12. I didn't realize the Spurs were 4-12. Oh my God. The Grizzlies and the Jazz. The Grizzlies won 119-118 on a game-winning 3 by Jaren Jackson Jr. Memphis is 9-8. Utah is 11-6. And the Sixers over the Kings 102-94. Philly 10-8. Sacramento 6-12. Now we look ahead to tonight. 7 o'clock, you have the Heat and the Pistons. My projection for this game is Heat by 11, total 210-05. Meanwhile, this is Heat 11, total 207.5. I'll actually take the over in this game, and I have a slight edge towards the Miami Heat. The game of the night, or this would have been the game of the night if LeBron James wasn't suspended. We'll get into more of that in news and notes. It's the Lakers and the Knicks from the Garden. That's just unfortunate that the league suspended LeBron for his lone visit to the Garden this year. But what a lucky break for the Knicks, who I have projected as a 3.5-point favorite, a total of 218.7. They don't have Mitchell Robinson in this game, which is a loss for them, especially on the defensive side of the ball and from a rebounding standpoint. But if LeBron played, this line would have been Lakers 2.5. But with Mitchell Robinson, it would have been 1.5 Lakers. But my projection without Mitch Robinson and without LeBron, Knicks 3.5, total 218.7. Meanwhile, it is Knicks 4.5, total 214.5. I like the over. I understand that LeBron's not, but I think Russell Westbrook will put up a lot of points. I think this is a big game for him. I think Anthony Davis will be perhaps the best player on the court in this game. I don't think the Lakers will win because the Knicks have won the big games this year. Like, the theme of the Knicks season is so far is that they beat good teams and they lose the bad teams. What are the Lakers? A good team. A marquee team. That's a good way to phrase it, the marquee teams. They beat the Celtics, they beat the Sixers. They're going to beat the Lakers tonight. I would just parlay the Knicks money line with something else. I wouldn't do it against the spread, but I really like the money line, even though it's high at minus 184. But I'd parlay that with like Miami and a couple of other of these favorites in the NBA and maybe some college basketball favorites too. But the pick here for the podcast is going to be in the over, and I have a slight edge to the Lakers, although I think the Knicks will win the game. All right, next up at 10 o'clock on TNT, the Nuggets and the Trailblazers. That's game of the night now that LeBron's not playing. Without LeBron, this is game of the night. This is going to be a great game. My projection is Portland by 6, total 211.65. No MPJ for Denver in this game. And then it's 6 and 213.5. So the numbers are very close. So I can't have a second pick here. I have to go with the total, and that total is a slight under. And last but not least, the Mavericks and the Clippers from Staples Center at 10:30. My projection is Clippers 2.5, total 288.8. Meanwhile, it's 5.5 and 209.5. I'm going to take the Mavericks getting the points. I believe Luka Doncic will play, and if he does, he'll be the best player on the court. Kristaps Porzingis has quietly been good in Luka's absence. But I think this is a close game. So give me the Mavericks getting the 5.5 against the Clippers. All right, now I'll move on to the NHL, where we'll recap last night's small slate and look ahead to an even smaller slate for tonight. So, Blue Jackets over the Sabres 7-4, Columbus 10-6-0, Buffalo 7-9-2. Blues over the Golden Knights 5-2. The Blues 10-6-2, Vegas 11-8-0. Predators over the Ducks 3-2. The Preds 10-7-1, Anaheim 10-6-3. Penguins over the Jets 3-1. The Pens have turned it around. They're 8-6-4. Winnipeg is 9-5-4. Avalanche over the Senators 7-5. The Avs 9-5-1. Ottawa 4-11-1. And the Sharks over the Hurricanes 2-1 in overtime on a game winner by Alexander Barabanov, and San Jose goes to 9-8-1. Carolina drops to 14-2-1. Wow. Now we look ahead to tonight, 7 o'clock. We have the Flyers and the Lightning. I'm sure the Lightning are big favorites tonight, and they are. Minus 184, Flyers plus 152, over under 5.5. minus 110 each way. Philly plus 1.5 is minus 180. Tampa minus 1.5 is plus 146. For this game, I'm going to go with Tampa in regulation at minus 115. I just think this is a good dominate spot for them. 8:30, the Oilers and the Stars. Dallas minus 125. Edmonton plus 104. Over under 6.5. Overs minus 106. Unders minus 114. Edmonton plus 1.5 is minus 260. Dallas minus 1.5 is plus 205. Did someone say Connor McDavid's an underdog? What in the world? Why is Dallas favored? Dallas, I think, is the most overrated team from a betting standpoint right now. Give me the Oilers plus 104 as a road dog. Blackhawks Flames at 9 o'clock. Calgary minus 245. Blackhawks plus 198. Over under 5.5. Overs plus 104. Unders minus 128. Chicago plus 1.5 is minus 144. Calgary minus 1.5 is plus 118. Calgary, I think, has been a dominant team. They've been blowing teams out, both home and road. This team, I think, has a chance to win the Stanley Cup, believe it or not, the way they're playing. So give me the Flames minus 1.5 and plus 118 for that game. All right, tonight we have some Major League Soccer playoff action that I would like to discuss. There are 2 games tonight, if I'm not mistaken. And there are... Why is this not loading? Yes, 2. At 8 o'clock, we have Nashville and Orlando. Both of these teams have had great seasons. You can bet the draw still, but it's not going to come out as a draw, which is basically betting the game to go into a shootout here. So Nashville, Orlando. Let's see here. Nashville's minus 125. Orlando's plus 350. The draw is plus 220. Obviously, the draw occurs. This goes to a shootout. I'm going to lay the minus 125 with Nashville. That's a good... If you want to parlay the Knicks money line with something, parlay them with Nashville SC and soccer. I think that would be a smart move. And then the next game is at 10:30, Seattle and Salt Lake. So we have an East game and a West game tonight. So it's the 2-7 match in the nightcap game. Seattle's minus 190, Salt Lake plus 430, draw 3-1. I'm gonna lay the minus 190 with Seattle. They're just so much dominant than anybody else, so I'm gonna lay the minus 190 with Seattle. That'd be a good money line to go with the Knicks as well. All right, news and notes for today. There's some stuff I want to get into before we get into the fun activities. Federal judge rules against online sports betting in Florida, says compact violates Indian Gaming Regulation Act. That is something that is obviously very interesting. I know a lot of states are trying to legalize sports gambling, and it'd be great if Florida did legalize it because they have a lot of casinos down there. So let's see if this is revisited in the future. The Giants head coach, Joe Judge, blames coaches for laws. As he says, the players have to execute. It's our job to teach them, he says. Paolo Banchero speaks up on the DWI incident. As he says, the team has moved on from it, and he said we all learned from it. The new AP poll in college basketball is out. And obviously Gonzaga and UCLA are your top two. I just want to look at the rest of it. Purdue's 3, which is amazing. 4 is Kansas, 5 is Duke, 6 Baylor, 7 Villanova, 8 Texas, 9 Memphis, 10 Kentucky. Actually tied with Alabama, so 2 SEC teams right there. 12 Houston, 13 Arkansas, 14 Illinois, 15 is Tennessee, 16 through 20, St. Bonaventure, Arizona, BYU, Auburn, Michigan, and 21 through 25 is Seton Hall, Connecticut, Florida, USC, and Xavier. Alrighty. The LeBron incident, he got into a brawl with Isaiah Stewart. LeBron wanted to apologize, apparently, and then so now LeBron's suspended for this game, and Isaiah Stewart got suspended as well. Something funny happened in the Bulls game last night. They were down big. Fans were booing, and, typical Bulls fans, unhappy. And what starts chanting? Fire Nagy. They're chanting for the Bears coach to be fired at the Bulls game. That's just lunacy. That's like rock bottom. If you're like Chicago sports, that's like rock bottom right there. The Cubs are terrible. They might be the worst team in baseball going into next year if they don't bring in anybody big and don't trade any big names from their roster. The Bears are bad. They're not even going to have a first-round pick, courtesy of the Justin Fields trade. And Justin Fields really hasn't been all that special. He had the moment on Monday Night Football, but let's face it, they lost. They didn't win that game. And then the Bulls are off to a good start, but you shouldn't be losing at home that bad to an underachieving Pacers team, especially the way they've started the season. The Bulls I'm talking about. And then, obviously, the Blackhawks are a disaster right now. They're not what they were earlier in the previous decade. So, fire Nagy at a Bulls game is just ridiculous. I mean, the best team in Chicago right now might be the White Sox, for what we know. And more bad news for Chicago is that Andy Dalton is starting on Thanksgiving against the Lions and not Justin Fields. So a couple contract extensions. Taysom Hill got a contract extension. I think it's 4 years, $95 million. It could be up to worth $40 to $95 million. They love Taysom Hill, man. And then Cortland Sutton got paid 4 years, $60.8 million extension with $34.9 guaranteed. That's a big deal for Sutton. And by the way, Isaiah Stewart 2-game suspension. So the Giants bring back 2 pitchers that helped them a year ago. Anthony DeSclafani, 3 years, $36 million, and Alex Wood, 2 years, $10+ million. So that is good news for them as they want to repeat their success. The comeback player of the years were announced. It's Trey Mancini and Buster Posey. Very deserving for those guys. Aaron Loop signs with the Angels, 2 years, $17 million, so hopefully he will pan out for them in their bullpen. The Marlins are close to a contract extension with Sandy Alcantara, 5 years, $55 million. That's a good contract for Alcantara. Saints tight end Adam Trautman out 4 to 6 weeks with a sprained MCL. That is a big loss for the Saints offense. Michael Carter out 2 to 3 weeks with a low-grade high ankle sprain. Jacksonville Jaguars special teams and wide receiver Jamal Agnew out for the season with a hip injury. Bad news for the Packers. Elgton Jenkins tore his ACL out for the year. Big loss for their offensive line. And the last one, Baker Mayfield getting booed as he makes a comment. Probably the same fans that won't be quiet while we're on offense. Sheesh. The Browns are a mess. All right, now we'll move on to the new segment, Hit or Miss, where I go through a certain thing and say hit or miss. And now it's going to be the 2020 MLB Draft. So this is going to be a fun one. This is just the first round, obviously. All right, Spencer Torkelson, Tigers. That's a hit. He's going to be in the big leagues in 2022. Heston Kjerstad of Orioles. Right now, Heston Kjerstad. Unfortunately, it's a sad one, but it's a miss. He has not played a minor league game yet. Next up, the Miami Marlins, Max Meyer. To me, this is a hit. He's going to potentially be in the big leagues in 2022. So that is a good hit for them. Next up is the Kansas City Royals, Asa Lacy. Right now, he looks like a hit. He looks like he's going to be in the big leagues in 2022. Austin Martin, now with the Minnesota Twins, as he was traded from the Blue Jays to the Twins in the Jose Barrios deal. I give the Twins a hit for this trade, and I give the Blue Jays a hit for the pick. So, for the Blue Jays, this is a hit of a pick because eventually turned it into Jose Barrios, who recently signed a contract extension with the Twins. All right, next up is the Mariners. Emerson Hancock. Right now, it looks like a hit. Going to start potentially in Double-A in 2022. Next up, Pittsburgh Pirates. Nick Gonzalez. Currently might start next year in Advanced A. Looks like a hit. Might be in the big leagues next year. A lot of these guys might be in the big leagues next year. Next up, the San Diego Padres. Robert Hassel. Looks like a hit right now. Not supposed to be in the big leagues until 2023, but Hassel might end up as a trade asset for them, so I'd give Robert Hassel a hit. So a lot of these are hits so far. Next up, the Colorado Rockies, Zach Veen. At the moment, Veen's a hit, even though he's not supposed to be in the big leagues until 2024. He had great numbers last year, and he's their top prospect right now. Next up, the LA Angels, Reed Detmers, an absolute hit. He was in the big leagues this year, amazingly enough. He was not great in the big leagues, but small sample size. But that's a hit. He's already in the big leagues. If you're already in the big leagues, you're already a hit in this draft. All right, this is an easy hit. Garrett Crochet, a hit. He was in the playoffs pitching for the White Sox last year. Next up, the Cincinnati Reds, Austin Hendrick. He's number 12 overall pick. Right now, it looks like a miss. This is the second miss on the board. Didn't have a great year. Not supposed to be in the big leagues till 2024. Next up is the Giants, Patrick Bailey. This is a tough one to gauge. But at the moment, I'd give it a hit. Just because it gives them depth in their system. They can always go out and make a trade if they lose some free agents. Next up, Texas Rangers, Justin Fosquet. I would give this player a hit. He's a big power hitter. 17 home runs last year. Might not be in the big leagues till 2023, though. So a lot of hits so far. All right, with the Phillies. Next up, Mick Abel. He's their top prospect already. ERA not great, but some other stats are pretty good, so I'd give it a hit for right now. And it's potentially a trade asset for them. Next up, the Chicago Cubs, Ed Howard. I would give Ed Howard a miss. He's not been good so far in the minors. Next up, the Red Sox, Nick York. He was 17 over. I remember I didn't like the pick at the time, but this looks like an absolute hit. My goodness. Is he going to be in the big leagues in 2022? With those numbers? Probably not. 2024, he's not projected to be in the big leagues until. That's a great trade asset for the Red Sox right there. Or they might just keep him. Who knows? But they are loaded in that system now. 18, Arizona Diamondbacks, Bryce Jarvis. I liked the draft pick at the time. Some of the numbers don't look great. Others do, but I give it a hit because he's in Double-A. And he might be in the big leagues next year. Maybe. 19 for the Mets is Pete Crow Armstrong. They traded him to the Cubs in the Javier Baez deal. So this is the biggest TBD. If Javier Baez returns to the Mets, this is a miss. If he does, it's a hit. But it's a hit for the Chicago Cubs with the numbers he put up and his potential. But for the draft pick itself, I'm going to give it a hit for the time being. But it could be a miss in terms of what they got back for a miss from an asset standpoint. Next up, the Milwaukee Brewers. Garrett Mitchell, their top prospect right now. This is an absolute hit. He's going to be in the big leagues in 2022, perhaps. Next up, number 21, the St. Louis Cardinals, Jordan Walker. This pick, for the time being, is a hit. Power hitter, average hitter. So it's a hit right now. Washington Nationals, Kate Cavalli. He's their top prospect right now. It's a hit for the time being. Very durable and very solid. 23 to Cleveland Indians. Or now the Cleveland Guardians, my bad. They took Carson Tucker. But right now, this is a miss. He's their 16th ranked prospect right now. Oh, lordy. That's probably a pretty big miss at the moment. Next up, the Tampa Bay Rays. They took a pitcher by the name of Nick Bitsko. 12th in their system right now. Right now, it's a miss. He hasn't pitched a game yet. The Atlanta Braves at 25 took Jared Schuster. And right now, this is a tough one to gauge. Let's go with hit. He has some good strikeout numbers and such. Going to be in Double-A next year. The Oakland Athletics at 26 took Tyler Soderstrom. And that's a hit right now. He's their top prospect. Great numbers. It's always good to have a catcher, so that's a major hit by Oakland. Catcher of the future right there. 27, the Minnesota Twins took Aaron Sabato, the first baseman. And he's 16th in their prospect list. That's a complete miss. Although, good power hitter. But average ain't great. Strikes out a lot. But maybe, you know what? That's a tough one to gauge. But, he bounced from Advanced A and A-ball. I'll change that one. I'll give it a hit. He's a good power hitter, but he doesn't hit for average. Maybe he's Joey Gallo. 28, the New York Yankees, Austin Wells. Right now, I would say that is a hit. It's a catcher, premier position, power hitter, solid numbers across the board. So I just want to hit. He walks a ton as well. And last but not least, 29, the Los Angeles Dodgers, Bobby Miller. The pitcher out of Louisville. To me, this is a no-brainer hit. Great numbers across the board. Going to be pitching on the Dodgers perhaps next year. So there you go. 2020 MLB Draft edition of Hit or Miss. All right, now I'm going to recap the Dancing with the Stars finale. It was a very interesting way for the 30th season to end. I was very surprised by the finish, for sure. Like I said, fusion dance and freestyle were the themes. And so the individual judges' scores in the charts that they were given were the judges Carrie, Len, Julianne, and Bruno. During the first rounds, the couples danced a fusion dance of two different dance styles. In the second round, it was a freestyle. And unfortunately, Derek Huff tested positive for COVID. So Julianne Huff filled in as a guest judge. And the musical guests, Melanie C, Two Became One, and then Jimmy Allen at the end, Good Times Roll. All right, first up was Amanda and Allen did a Finesse Waltz Paso Doble to Never Tear Us Apart by Bishop Briggs. They got a 38. Carrie and Julianne gave them a 9, and Len and Bruno gave them a 10. Then they did a freestyle to A Sky Full of Stars by Coldplay, got a perfect 40. Cody and Cheryl did a Paso Doble Cha-Cha-Cha to Free Your Mind by En Vogue, and each judge gave them a 9, and their freestyle was to... Oh, they did 2 freestyles. Symphony number 5 by Ludwig van Beethoven, and Nails, Hair, Hips, Heels, the Just Dance version by Todrick Hall. And they got a perfect score on the freestyle. I guess it was like a remix. JoJo and Jenna did a Tango Cha-Cha-Cha to I Love It by Icona Pop and Charlie XCS and got a perfect 40. And then the freestyle was the Born This Way by Lady Gaga, got a perfect 40. Amon and Daniela did a Cha-Cha-Cha Foxtrot to September by Earth, Wind & Fire, got a perfect score. And then the freestyle was the Lose Control by Missy Elliott and Bounce by DJ Clint and got a perfect score. Fourth place in the competition was Amanda and Allen. Third place, Cody and Cheryl. And the winner was, amazingly enough, Amon Shumpert and Daniela. Amazing job by them. And then JoJo and Jenna were the runners-up. I was convinced that JoJo was going to win. I thought it was a lock. If I had that as best bet, like I even said on yesterday's podcast, if that was available to me as a bet, I would have bet on JoJo Siwa. I really thought that JoJo deserved the win. But good for Amon Shumpert. Former Knicks player. Former Cavalier. NBA champion. So good to see an NBA player win Dancing with the Stars. That was pretty neat. And it was a good season. I'm sure they'll renew for a 31st. And like I said, it was a great season, of course. All right, best bet of the day. Brought to you by FanDuel. There's 2 that I really liked, but one that really stood out, and I'm going to take Columbia getting the points against Lehigh. I just don't think Lehigh's good. Columbia's not good either. They always say if it's a game with 2 bad teams, always take the points. So I'm going to go 2 units on Columbia, plus 7.5 at minus 204 against Lehigh. All right, so there you have it for the show today. All right, so here's the deal. No podcast Thanksgiving. No podcast on Black Friday. And obviously none on Friday or Saturday and Sunday. So tomorrow's podcast is going to be a monster show. We're going to do the turkey picks. I wonder if I don't know if I'm going to go to the turkey 23. Or something like that. Maybe I'll do turkey 23. I'll do, instead of the Fab 5, I'll do the Thanksgiving games. And then a mixture of college football and the NFL throughout. And it'll replace the Fab 5 with like the turkey. It's either going to be the turkey 23 or the turkey 22. I think I'm going to do the turkey 22. Turkey 22. I like turkey 22 a lot. So turkey 22 for tomorrow at the end of the show at Best Bet. All right, hope you guys have a great day, everyone.